What are the different ways a writer can find an agent?
It's a question I get asked all the time. And there are a number of ways. One is enter a contest and come in first. If you're a quarter finalist, that's not going to do anything. And as I said before, if you're a quarter finalist in the Schmigegi Film Festival, nobody is looking at that. If you are in a very prestigious competition and you come in first or second, agents and managers will find you. And the annoying thing is that agents say, when you say, how does somebody get an agent? They say, don't worry, when you're ready, we'll find you. And there's a lot of truth in that, no matter how annoying it is. So that's one. Another way is if it's television and you can get into one of the network fellowships, they will introduce you to agents and managers. If you can find a mentorship program, they will introduce you to their agents or managers. If you do a one woman, one man, one person show and you put it up, it has a fantastic reaction. That's how Fleabag came about. They'll find you. Another way, my daughter, who's a comedy writer, an aspiring comedy writer, one of her best friends did a video that went viral, and she was repped within a week. And they keep inviting her to go back to Saturday Night Live and apply to be a writer there. So if you make a big splash in social media, that is a way to do it. Knowing somebody who knows somebody who can get your script to an agent or manager, or an agent or manager's assistant, is one way to do it. I used to say don't bother with this, but cold queries can work. I've now had 3 mentees and a client who wrote fabulous letters, cold queries, emails, and they made themselves so appealing and the log line for one of their scripts so appealing that the manager or agent said, I'd like to read your script. And then they had a meeting with them because the script was so good and they got repped. Another way is, and this is hard if you're not in the business, is to have a job working in the business, even if it's as a PA somewhere, because you'll meet somebody who will know somebody who will know somebody who will know somebody who can get your script in front of an agent or a manager. Another way is to have a podcast these days, podcasts, wow, that is super successful. They'll find you. The easiest way is to already be making money as a screenwriter because agents love to poach their competition's clients. And those are the ways. Those are the ways.
So with the people that queried and sent these letters out, how did they know the names and where did they find the contact information?
How they actually get the contact information? IMDbPro has contact information for agents and managers. I recommend that people look for a manager first. There's so many more of them than there are agents, and the ones just starting out are often willing to take newbies and sort of invest in them. And one way to do it is to look at your favorite movie, your favorite television shows, go to IMDb, look up their name and see who represents them, and then go to that person's contact page, and that's how you do it.
What should a new writer expect from a meeting with an agent?
In a meeting, if you're a hot commodity, the manager or agent, it's like being on a date when somebody wants to get you in bed. They will tell you anything, how beautiful you are, how handsome you are, how much they love you. What you should be thinking about in that meeting, if you're a hot commodity, is ask them very clearly, where do you see my career in 5 years and how will you help me get there? The thing to remember is, if you go with this person, they work for you. You want to make sure that they've read your material and they get who you are. They really understand who you are as a writer and they get your vibe and that your vibes match. You may want a super aggressive agent, or that may not be your style and you want somebody who's super hardworking and ambitious but not super aggressive. You can expect them to ask you what you want in a relationship with a manager. You can expect them to ask, who do you know in the business? Because the more people you know, the easier it is for them to do their job. They might ask you, what are your favorite shows? What are your favorite movies? They may ask you, what is your sweet spot as a writer? What do you like to write? What are you great at writing? They will definitely ask you, what else do you have in your portfolio besides what they read for you to get to that meeting? That's probably about it. They'll make small talk to get you to... Now, that's if you're a hot commodity. And it's all your choice because you're meeting with 5 different managers and you get to decide. It's really who you vibe with and who has a track record in getting their clients' work. If you're new and you're not yet a hot commodity, you should be prepared to tell them what else you have in your portfolio. You should be prepared to tell them what your career ambitions are. You should be prepared to tell them who you know in the business and the ways that you meet people. They're going to want to know that. You should be prepared to ask them, who are your other clients that I might talk to? They may take umbrage at that, and if they do, that's not the person for you. You should be prepared to ask them, how do they see you getting to the next level in your career, and how can they help you do it? They may ask you, how long does it take you to write a script? And be prepared to be honest with that answer.
So unlike a first date where you wouldn't say, when are we setting our wedding? In an agent meeting, you would be very upfront about, this is what I expect and what can I expect from you? Would that be a little bit too fast, too soon?
Well, you don't probably have a lot, unless you're that hot commodity, you don't have a lot of shots with an agent or manager. You probably have one meeting with them. I'm not suggesting you come in guns blazing. I think you come in and you're complimentary to them and you say, I would love to work with you. It would be fantastic. I'd love to ask you a couple of questions. And say it in a humble way, but ask those questions.
Okay, so there's direction to the meeting. It's not just you're showing up and you have an actual plan.
Yes, you want to think ahead. Now, sometimes, and it's not very often, this may just be a meet and greet, get to know you, see what they think of you. And it's not what we call a signing meeting. It's really just a get to know you. They read something of yours, they liked it, they want to know more about you. And then it's really about having a relationship, a conversation with them like you would with a friend or a new person who you wanted to be friends with. But if it turns to business, be prepared to ask those questions.
Okay, have that in your back pocket.
Absolutely.
What are some red flags a new writer should be aware of when meeting with an agent?
If the person is a jerk, if they haven't read you, if they're blowing smoke, if they're not transparent about the type of people they represent, if they're late to the meeting, if they talk at you the whole time, if they're just being blustery, if they don't ask you about yourself, and again, if they haven't read your work, if they don't have an opinion about your work, these are red flags.
How do we know someone's blowing smoke?
If they tell you, you're fabulous, you're fabulous, you're fabulous, and you've only written one script, they're probably blowing smoke. If They say, oh yeah, I can get you a meeting with Spielberg. I can get you a meeting with J.J. Abrams. You need to, that's a red flag because they don't know you enough yet. And if they could get you those meetings, you're probably not meeting with the people that can get you those meetings when you're starting out.
Talking at someone versus talking with them?
Yes. Oh, pet peeve. They just talk about themselves. It's a wall of words. They talk, talk, talk. They don't give you any time to, they never take a breath for you to say something. They're just talking about themselves and they're talking nonstop and they're not making eye contact and they're not pausing and they're not reading the room. They don't care about you.
So they're not, you see they're not picking up on social cues.
Right.
Okay.
They take themselves so seriously. They love the sound of their voice. That's not somebody who's going to help you, because if they're that way with you, they're going to be that way with decision makers, and that turns decision makers off.
What if an agent rejects a writer?
That's sad, but move on to the next one.
But we're sensitive artists, Carole. We feel things. This was our big chance.
It's painful. It's painful. I worked at a job where my contract didn't get picked up for a second part of it. I was so devastated. I ate ice cream for days. I bought shoes. I felt terrible. And then I moved on. And my husband has a great way of looking at it. He said, wallow in it. Wallow in your pain. Wallow in the disappointment. Give yourself 3 days to feel nothing. Stay in bed. Watch stupid television. And then move on. And then move on. Unless you want to give up forever right then. And don't do that. This is part of the business. Feel it, acknowledge it, experience it, give yourself the space to do that, and then move on to the next.